Spotlight is proudly sponsored by HEC Media, St. Louis's home for arts, education, and culture.
We try to do everything we can to connect dads to kids and then help them stay connected.
I've always tried to fill my dad's shoes.
It really set the tone for what was to come.
Today on Spotlight, celebrating Father's Day with Strong Fathers, Strong Families, how this group helps dads stay connected. Plus, a father-daughter duo that creates beautiful murals on big buildings. And then the pre-Broadway debut of The Karate Kid the Musical has proved to be a smash hit. But first, this business is a family affair. It all started with Dad. Now it's being passed on to his daughter. It's Sunday and you're watching the multiple Emmy Award-winning Spotlight.
Skate King is a roller skating center located in St. Louis, Missouri. My name is Matanaya Foggy. I prefer to go by Naya, and I am the manager at Skate King. My father started Martin Luther King Memorial Roller Skating Center in 1970.
I grew up in the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King was one of my heroes. I wanted to make sure that I incorporated his vision of love and community in the business that I started.
So stepping more into a leadership role at Skate King is very interesting. I get to see the dynamics of what my father has dealt with all these years.
I'm at a point in life where I've started to reduce my role and increase hers. And I look forward to her taking on even more responsibility in the future. Skate King has filled a role that I never envisioned. It's been a vital part of the communities that we've served here in Pine Line.
A lot of people really rely on Skate King. You will be surprised the amount of people that come up to my father and tell him, like, thank you so much for keeping this in the Black community because you don't know what it meant to me growing up. It's been a staple in the community and a rec center for people to let out their frustrations, skate out their troubles. This place has provided so much fun for the community throughout the years, and I had an absolute wonderful childhood growing up through Skate King. Skate culture at large is different for every region. St. Louis, and especially Skate King, we have a very smooth style. It's a glide with it, it's a swag to it.
From the time that I started Skate King and turned the key, it's been running ever since, and we'll be celebrating 50 years next year. It's been enormous. It's been great.
There are not a lot of African American businesses in the community that can say that I can pass this on to another generation. I have a son, he's 7 now, and I really want to continue the legacy on so that this staple can stay here for years to come.
She has been a right arm to me, and I think the business will be in great hands going forward with her leadership.
I've always tried to fill my dad's shoes, and so it's very exciting, it's scary, it's a lot on my shoulders. But I am up for the challenge.
Visit thestl.com for more stories like this one. Michael Hall is the founder of the Fatherhood Engagement Program, Strong Fathers, Strong Families. Since 2003, this program has been implemented at schools throughout the United States and internationally, reaching over 225,000 dads and 500,000 kids. Michael sat down with Classroom Matters podcast host Christy Houle to discuss this important program.
I want to talk a little bit about the work that you're doing with Strong Fathers, Strong Families. And when I've listened to many of your lectures, I've listened to a lot of your presentations, and in a lot of those, you talk about the difference between fatherlessness and fatherfulness.
Early on in this work, we kind of figured out how to fill the room up. And that's really nice. But then when we had a full room, we had to decide, okay, what are we doing with them? Who are these guys? And all kind of stuff. And so the TED Talk that I did called Fatherlessness was really in response, because most of this field, if you will, around fatherhood, typically more so at the government level, social service level, is all about deficit, right? Like, these kids don't have dads. Well, and one of the things I say is 100% of the kids in our country have a father, because my dad taught biology. I know that's true. Now, the painful part is, we know a lot of kids don't have dads around. It is not as much as people think. And I still feel like we have a ton of work to do. That's not the issue. Our job is to engage dads. So when I was a middle school principal, the kids that came through my office with behavior academic problem either had no dad at home, which we understood, or kind of more shocking to me, there were dads at home that weren't connected. So what we have focused on in the field is all these kids that don't have a dad under the roof, right? 70% of the kids right now in the country live in two-parent homes. Their biological father may not be one of the two parents, but 70%, and that's it's definitely a number different than 1964, but it's not what people think. On top of that other 30% of kids that don't live under the same roof with their father, well, actually out of that 30%, about 10 to 12% of those single parent homes, at one time it was 17. I don't know that out of this study that would be that. But those kids are living with a single father, right? And we would hope that they would have access to their mother as well. But even those kids that don't live under the same roof with their father have regular access to their dads. One of the studies in Head Start, in inner city Head Starts, they found that 65% of the kids in that Head Start had regular daily or weekly access to their fathers. But the dads aren't on paper, or the dad doesn't live there. And so we take all the assumptions and kind of push it over there. What we find is when dads are invited, they show up, right? Like, these guys will come. I've had dads come to school things from, a dad came from Russia to El Paso for a Bring Your Dad to School Day. Was a military contractor working in Russia, jumped to C-130 to an air base in Germany, went from the air base to New Jersey, jumped a Delta flight to Jersey, from Jersey to El Paso to be there on a Friday, Bring Your Dad to School Day, and was returning back to Russia to go to work on Monday. We had another young man that came to Winona, Texas, which is a fantastic little town here east of Dallas. And he came from Djibouti, Africa. He was at Camp Lemonnier and took 2 days to get home, had a 3-day pass at home. The middle day was Bring Your Dad to School Day for his pre-K kid. So he went to class and he did this so he could be at this event, and then took 2 days to get back. That same thing about fatherlessness. A lot of the folks that are in the same field that I am, they don't profit from the solutions, they profit from the problem. So they don't have curriculum, they don't have things, and they're working with guys that, and I hate to say lowest common denominator, but these are guys that have tons of challenges, and there's a need for that work. I do some of that, but there's a need for that work, but that's not all the work that we need to do in fatherhood. You've got guys that are just seem to be at the top of their game in their fathering and parenting, their career. That may be 10 to 15%. We've got these guys that are struggling with addiction, struggling with multiple families, incarceration, all kind of issues. That's that other 15% that really needs that serious intervention. But then we're not talking about the middle 70%, which are heading one direction or the other. What do we do with that 70%? Because there's tons of dads that are just looking for a way to help their kid. They want to be engaged. They're not always sure about it. And so that's what we do, is we try to do everything we can to connect dads to kids and then help them stay connected.
To listen to the full podcast episode about Strong Fathers, Strong Families, visit educate.today.
HEC Media. Recognized, celebrated, honored time and again for excellence in the industry. Mid-America Emmys, Tellys, NATOAs, Auroras, and other awards. HEC Media has been bringing home the hardware for over a decade. hundreds of nominations and wins, from regional to international levels. Arts and education to author talks, magazine shows and documentaries, individual craft achievements to overall excellence, plus so much more. And although doing good work is its own reward, recognition, well, it's nice too. See what all the fuss is about. Find all of the award-winning content at hecmedia.org.
When we last met with Robert and Liza Fishbone, this father-daughter duo had just completed a mural for Urban Harvest.
Urban Harvest, that was an incredible project for us and for the client. We transformed that particular corner of downtown. And in fact, my daughter and I have continued to transform different neighborhoods, different locations with murals.
That one, I'm just really proud of the painting. I think doing that unlocked some style within me that I hadn't really explored. And so that was really exciting.
Robert Fishbone had a long history of painting murals with his late wife, Sarah.
And it meant everything to us. We didn't come to St. Louis to do murals, but that's how our life evolved.
And now Robert paints exclusively with his daughter, Liza.
My dad has a thing that he always says, that we can't only consider what we see, but we have to think about what the wall sees. There's a lot of history there. And so it's our responsibility to consider that history and consider how are people interacting with this space.
Whatever we do, we want it to be beautiful. We don't speak to too many social issues, but we feel that what we do has more to do with the human spirit, and that's what we're interested in.
We caught up with Robert in front of one of their newer murals in Dogtown.
The owner of the building wanted us to do a mural to help unify the community. We decided to basically do a testament to Dogtown, just its name, and the names of the 5 neighborhoods that make up Dogtown, which are listed on the banners of the mural. We decided to do a large D in the style of an illuminated letter, which you find in medieval manuscripts. And then the cardinal is, we're in St. Louis, and the bluebird is actually the Missouri state bird. And then we just have lovely plants and flowers streaming out from it.
Green Street St. Louis sponsored a lot of artworks over the years. Their mission is to bring beautiful housing to the downtown area, as well as beautiful artwork. So they hired On the Wall Productions.
When we approached this particular wall, we realized that, a picture of something was just not going to work because of all the windows. So if you look at the mural, you'll see that on the top left, there are these shapes that are really like shards, like broken pieces of glass or ceramic. But as they move across the wall, they transform, they change shape, they're evolving, they get larger and larger. But as you get all the way to the right side, they become more vertical, and that's where the windows integrate with them very well. A friend of mine described it as they're dancing across the wall.
After 10 years of doing murals for Willert Home Products, beginning in 1995, it was time to refresh the murals that were created by Robert's wife, Sarah.
Part of me was a little reluctant to restore it because I didn't know if I was painting it away. And that was really hard for me. And it still is hard for me. But over the years, it starts to feel more like, okay, this is my job. I don't spend too much time in those emotions, partially because it's just traumatic. So I don't live there, and partially because when we're doing them, we're really just focused and trying to, get everything done in a timely manner. It's been a really interesting process because I'm literally retracing my mom's brush strokes. And so I've learned a lot about painting just through that.
This past summer, we restored the last one, plus he commissioned us to do one new one, which is the wall behind me. And it also happens to be what he first sees when he walks out of where he lives across the street. So that's why this cat is in it. It was his cat. But the tableau is one basically of Southeast Asia. We've continued the real bamboo onto the wall. And then there's this corporate logo, the Luna moth, more plants, the cat. And then we decided to turn the truck dock, which was an entranceway, into a different kind of entranceway, into a gateway. leading you down a path. So we got a chance to put our own stamp on the work. We got to design one new piece for his collection.
After recently finishing a solo project for the Weinheimer Community Center in Highland, Illinois, Robert moved on to a new chapter, creating labyrinths.
There's a lot of ways to think about what is an artist. And really what an artist does is we interpret an experience. And doing a labyrinth it's a little bit different. Instead of like putting stuff out there, we're going deeper within. In some ways it's very different from murals, but in another way it's not. You know, a mural is an escape, you know, from your moment. And a labyrinth is similar, except instead of like, wow, we're slowing everything down.
One of several labyrinths he designed was constructed at Villa de Chêne and Oak Hill School.
We're creating the labyrinth in the same way that it's used, you know, with a kind of surrender, with a reverence, with letting go. And it's a profound experience.
The primary purpose of this labyrinth is a gift to the campus community. It was the right time and the right response to the call we find ourselves in the modern day, a place of calm. Robert was given to us as a gift, and he's been a gift to me and to this campus community, not only in this experience of building the labyrinth, but because it's a stable part of our campus now, this iconic campus, it'll be a gift for generations to come.
A Freedom Suit Memorial being unveiled on Juneteenth, later on Spotlight.
After dreaming of it for years and preparing it for months, the new musical version of The Karate Kid is ready for combat.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I can't believe that we're here. It happened so quickly.
I'm so proud of the production, and the previews have been spectacular.
The Karate Kid the Musical is the first show ever to hold a pre-Broadway tryout in St. Louis. After 8 preview performances in May, the show officially opened June 1st, complete with a red carpet event featuring an endless sushi bar and Karate Kid-themed cupcakes. Among the VIPs attending was actor Martin Kove,
Sweep the Lick,
who played the sadistic karate instructor in the Karate Kid movies and now the Netflix spin-off called Cobra Kai.
An idea to make this a play is wonderful.
And making sure the show is wonderful is the point of a month-long pre-Broadway tryout. How have the St. Louis audiences been so far?
Wonderful, just wonderful. And the feedback we're receiving is helping us to shape up the show. And so every day it's getting better and better.
Staging a pre-Broadway tryout in St. Louis is also a tryout for St. Louis, especially Kirkwood's new $25 million Performing Arts Center, home to Stages St. Louis, which produced the tryout as its first show of the 2022 season.
Producers, investors, a lot of people are flying in, theater owners are flying in. It's got a real true buzz already.
We thought big things would come. Had no idea that really in such a short time we would have a pre-Broadway, trial here. I mean, it was just, we were ecstatic about it.
It's wonderful, isn't it? The fact that the show can start here now and their support for it, I think it's terrific. More.
Sometimes the picture starts to change.
The cast has found working in Kirkwood has its advantages.
At the end of the night, I can go home and be in a quiet suburb and have some peace and quiet and, go back to work the next day feeling really recharged and ready to go.
Wax on, wax off.
Stages St. Louis, which includes education as part of its mission, took advantage of the Karate Kid's themes to create teachable moments.
I don't know, has anybody been bullied here?
Before attending a preview performance, a group from Girls Incorporated was invited to hear a few thoughts about bullying from Robert Mark Kamen, who wrote the Karate Kid screenplays and the book for the musical.
The last thing you should ever do to solve a problem is this. This is the first thing, this is the last thing.
I loved how it taught us that bullying is not a way to solve any problem.
The show has been a learning experience for several young actors, including Webster University student Luis Pablo Garcia, whose electrifying St. Louis audition landed him a leading role.
You think they'll bring more shows like this to St. Louis to try out now that you guys have kind of put your toe in the water?
100%. I don't see why not. I mean, look at the turnout. Look around us. There's so many people who are excited for this and who want to be a part of this thing and help it get to Broadway. So I don't see why not. If there's all this enthusiasm and excitement, let's do it again.
The show has already received good notices. BroadwayWorld.com called it remarkable, a visual feast that packs a strong emotional punch. Sentiments echoed by the opening night audience as they left the theater.
It's a classic feel-good. I was just blown away.
Great show. Unbelievable. We're super excited about it.
Fabulous. I think it's going to take Broadway by storm.
There is no guarantee The Karate Kid the Musical will make it to Broadway because in show business there are no guarantees about anything. But if the initial reaction to its St. Louis debut is any indication, The Karate Kid the Musical seems like it has a fighting chance.
New York and the world has discovered that St. Louis is a great city for Broadway tryouts.
The Karate Kid the Musical runs through this week. Visit stagesstlouis.org for more info.
Looking for St. Louis-centric videos to use in your classroom? Check out our educational resources at educate.today.
In the mid-1990s, a circuit clerk stumbled upon at least 15 boxes tucked away in a basement in a downtown office building. Hidden in those boxes were stories about the enslaved people who used a St. Louis, Missouri courtroom to sue for their freedom. They're called the Freedom Suits. In memory of those brave men and women, the city of St. Louis will pay tribute to them with a memorial statue. July 28, 2021, marked the day for the groundbreaking ceremony.
This Freedom Suit Memorial would stand as a reminder, and in most cases as a tribute, to a time in history, that snapshot in time in St. Louis where fairness, equity, and justice was possible for the enslaved.
I don't know if you could come up with another group of cases that have been filed in our circuit in the 200 years that the city of St. Louis has had a circuit court that had more impact, not just on the individuals, but I think on the legal system and our culture and our society as a whole.
I'm honored to break ground on this memorial honoring the tenacity and the courage of Black Missourians who came before me, blocks away from the very spot where our ancestors, in the face of slavery's atrocities, sued for their freedom.
On June 20th, the statue will be unveiled as part of the Juneteenth holiday celebration. But moving the memorial from a dream to reality was not an easy task. It took years of preparation, which spanned over 3 mayoral administrations.
I think it makes us better as St. Louisans to pull together and acknowledge this part of our history and to be committed in the future to do better.
It's going to be a very transformative project for St. Louis. It'll be right here in the Gateway Mall. It'll become one of the must-go-to stops in St. Louis.
Judge David Mason created the Freedom Suits Memorial Project.
The inspiration for this monument came to me essentially in my role as a teacher's trial advocacy. I was kind of curious as to what kind of trial lawyer could convince 12 white men in the 1800s that a slave ought to win a lawsuit against the slave owner. And it's interesting to note that the great majority of suits were filed by women, because under the law, if they won their freedom, so did their children. We're celebrating the slaves who had the courage to do it because they faced such dire consequences if they lost. The lawyers who put the time in because they weren't getting paid and worked to win these suits for the slaves who were entitled to be free. And the judges and jurors who listened to their cases, took their evidence, and issued verdicts and orders that these slaves should be freed. And the slave master had to just give it up and let them go.
This clay is really the top drawer.
Preston Jackson, a nationally renowned artist and sculptor, was commissioned to create the statue.
I use nothing but the best materials. This clay is what they use for modeling automobiles.
The statue will tell the story about the journey to freedom through the legal process. Jackson hopes the symbolism will take the onlooker back in time.
This area, there's more symbolism. You see the various races that make up America. So we see Native Americans, or the originals. We see African people. We see Europeans, and we see Asians. And that's how I see St. Louis. There's a lot of positiveness in this piece, meaning that we see a family. And don't we all desire to be able to pass on what we know and who we are to our children? But this is the look of the time. We see his dad and his mom modeled in a very loose fashion, loose and interesting way, because when the light plays on this piece, even at night or in the daytime, all of the texture will wake up and begin to dance like an impressionist painting.
The statue will be mounted on a stone foundation located on the east lawn of the Civil Courts building, which has been officially named Freedom Plaza.
The pedestal will be made out of 5 separate pieces. There will be 4 walls, which will be miter cut on the ends, so there will be very minimal seams. The top will then rest and be pinned to that. There will be engraving on the walls of all the plaintiffs, both the ones that did win their cases and I believe the ones that did lose their cases. It is an extremely important part of not only St. Louis history, but national history.
When finished, the monument will reach a stunning 20 feet.
The St. Louis court system should be proud of the role they played. Not every case came out as it should have, but some did, and it really set the tone for what was to come. And we know that our country today is in the middle of a long overdue racial reckoning. And this will be an educational monument to help all of us learn a little more.
Visit hecmedia.org to watch our exclusive documentary, Seeking Freedom, about the Freedom Suit trials that took place in the St. Louis courts. Do you want your young learner to learn more about the Freedom Suits in St. Louis? Go to our educational website at educate.today and type in the keyword Freedom Suits. Next week, a knife maker that says he creates works of art. Plus, meet an author whose book was on Oprah's Book Club. Another one was made into a TV show on HBO Max. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.